So we're here with the president of the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council, Cassandra Dorrington. Thank you for being with us.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and good morning.
Well, we're going to talk about a fair. We're going to talk about some activities that you have about the paper of the role of the CAMSC.
CAMSC. Yeah, CAMSC. It's a funny pronunciation, but it's CAMSC.
Yeah. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how it's organized by the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council. How does it work?
Okay, let me just say, this is one of our marquee events each year. We have a procurement fair in the April timeframe. We have an awards gala in September. With the procurement fair, what we do is we reach out to our stakeholder community. That would be all our certified suppliers and those wishing to be certified suppliers, as well as corporate Canada. And we invite them to attend the procurement fair. As they come on board, part of the procurement fair is we will provide matchmaking services, and we will set suppliers up with corporate Canada. So if you've identified particular corporations you want to do business with, you identify them to us. We then reach out to them to see if they're procuring particular services like that over the next period of time. And then we do have a schedule where we actually give you one-on-one time with these corporations.
Oh, nice.
So you can actually sit down, talk about your company, your products or services, and begin the relationship of developing when you might be able to bid for opportunities, what opportunities are available, and how you can develop that relationship going forward.
And that's really, really important for our community, for example, for the Hispanic community to adapt to this type of society.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
No. We had it's been probably about 2 to 3 years, we signed a memorandum of understanding with the Hispanic Chamber of Commerce for the particular reason that we had access to corporate Canada. They had some good quality suppliers or some good quality businesses that wanted access into that community, and we thought it would be the perfect relationship to have us join together. So therefore we open our doors to allow any Hispanic businesses to come on board, to meet up with corporate Canada and become part of the economic environment in Canada.
Of course, and obviously our community is something that it's one community that is growing through the years. Right now we're looking at second generations and all, right? So it's very important for us to get involved in the Canadian community also, right?
There's no question. Creating that initial relationship and building on that relationship is what's important, because you start out with whatever your product or service is, and if the business gets your partner with another Hispanic member, your children take it on, you now have a foothold in the economy.
Of course. And to talk about a little bit more of not the fair, but the work that you do with our community, the communities in general, how can the CAMSC, it's a little bit difficult, CAMSC can work for us in the regular basis?
Okay, let me just step back. CAMSC has been around for about 11 years. We're in our 11th year of operation. Our primary mandate is to provide that procurement or that vehicle to connect minority and Aboriginal businesses with corporate Canada. That's primarily what we're trying to create that venue for them to come together. So therefore, as we work with the Hispanic community, as we work with the Aboriginal community, other members of the minority community, we're trying to set up, whether it be networking functions, whether it be any vehicles that we can get both suppliers, businesses, and corporate Canada in the same room together to be able to sort of talk about upcoming opportunities. What that does is that sets up the venue for corporate Canada to know you're there, and then to reach out to you depending on what they're looking to procure, to reach out and ask you to actually bid on opportunities to supply these products or services. And so this has been ongoing for the past, as I said, 11 years. We have probably about 85 corporations across Canada and the U.S., and they would be corporations such as RBC would be with us, BMO would be with us, Kellogg would be with us, HP, Hewlett-Packard would be with us, Cisco, IBM. There's a whole range of organizations, Marriott. There's a whole range of organizations who come to us and say, we want to find diverse suppliers. And so therefore we'd reach out, whether it be Hispanic community, minority community, Aboriginal community, all these who are now certified with us, we provide those names, those company names, to the corporation so then they can begin the dialogue.
Perfect. We're looking at activity this year in Toronto, and I think the fair right now, because before stressing the fact that it's going to be a nice moment to get to know another communities and get involved in business. We know that this year tourism is going to increase.
No question.
We know that the presence of the Hispanic community is going to be in right in the spot, because we know it's the Pan American Games. How the CAMSC is working with that?
Well, probably about 3 years ago, we sat down at the table with the Pan Am Games to talk about And they wanted to leave diversity as a legacy in Toronto. They wanted to have that creation of diverse companies working with corporate Canada, especially in the Ontario and the Toronto region, how they could make that happen. So we worked along with many others at the advisory level to say, how can we actually, in the bids, when they're bidding for whether it be developing the villages, whether it be procuring translation services, whether it be logos, printing services, how do we get involved in that? At the front end, we created a template where if you were a diverse company, there was extra points in the bid. So therefore, we had an opportunity then to get diverse companies in front of Pan Am and their range of companies. And we got some good opportunities that came out from there, such as even Unicron, one of the Hispanic companies here, got some work with Pan Am to do some great work for the Pan Am Games. There are a few others along those lines. And so that started the relationship of Pan Am doing that. So we've been working closely with them. So any opportunities, any RFPs that come out, we're able to push them out to the community, Hispanic community, all the other stakeholders that we have, so they can actually bid for any opportunities that come up. So we've been working closely with the Pan Am committee, and we've actually asked Barb to come in, Barb Anderson, the CFO there, come in and speak at our luncheon talk to us about the successes of what they've been able to do over the past 3 years in working with the diverse community, and how that has helped them pull off what we assume will be a very successful Pan Am Games.
Yeah, it will be.
Yes.
It will be for sure. Talking about the fair, because I know it's one of your two events.
One of our two marquee events. Yes.
Yeah. What is it the fair about? We know it's about business.
It's about connecting business. So it's a 2-day event. On the first day, April 14th, what we'll do is we bring all our corporate members together, and they get an opportunity to talk, and there's a training session that's up for them, because they all want to know how do they do this better, and they all want to share best practices. Mm-hmm. That leads into an evening reception where we invite our suppliers. So many companies come together and start to meet with the corporations. They begin that dialogue. The next day, it kicks off into success breakfast. This will be at the Allstream on April the 15th. We'll have a series of suppliers on the breakfast panel talking about how they've been effectively able to do business and how it's grown successfully. Mm-hmm. And then that will lead into a series of workshops, which are really strategic sourcing roundtables. We'll have a number of companies come in and talk about how they source products or services, mm-hmm. what you should be doing or what you should look for if you're working with them. Mm-hmm. And that actually starts the dialogue and creates a scene for, oh my God, if I want to do business with Kellogg, this is what I want to do. If I want to do business with JCI or RBC, what do I need to have in place? What are they looking for the next 24 months? That moves into a series of workshops that are some educational workshops and developing, but the afternoon is a prime where everyone, if you've signed up for matchmaking sessions, you have one-on-one meetings with each of these corporations, with a series of corporations, to actually individually talk about your products or services. Let's
talk about, sometimes we are the only ones that put our limits, right? Our own limits.
Yes.
And sometimes there's a supplier probably that they have not, probably they're not as brave to present themselves to a corporation. CAMSC provides a guideline of what to present or
what we do is if you are certified with us, and what we try to do is help you create a marketing profile. Mm-hmm. And that helps you in advance of the fair identify who you are, what your products or services are. So when you're in front of them, the corporation already they have a template of who you are. So now that sets a scene for, it's easy then for you to talk about what you do after that, because this is what you do on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. These one-on-one meetings are between 10 and 15 minutes, which doesn't sound like a long time, mm-hmm. but it's really key to be able to get down to understanding what the company's looking for and how it might be able to provide that solution mm-hmm. to what their problem is. And that's really, because you're not gonna shake hands and make a deal at that time.
Yeah, of course.
But you are gonna make that connection. That then when they say, here's my card, I want you to call me mm-hmm. after this, let's set up some time so we can walk through it. That's when you know you're actually making headway into what you want to do.
Perfect. So the fair is April 14 and April 15.
The event is April 14th and 15th. The reception's on the 14th, which is a prime networking opportunity. So if you haven't seen anybody, if they're not on your matchmaking list, you have the opportunity to talk to them on the 14th. Mm. On the 15th, that's when you come in for your education sessions. You find out from strategic sourcing roundtables what companies are buying how they're doing it, and then you have your one-on-one matchmakers.
How can someone sign up for this?
It's www.camsc.ca. Right on our site, there's a big advertisement for the procurement fair. You can click into that, and that will take you into registration for the procurement fair.
Is there any number, telephone number?
Phone number 416-941-0004. and just go into, I believe it should be either Shaz's extension 221 or Daphne's extension 223.
Is there, because Cassandra, sometimes people relate to some stories about success, right? Mm-hmm. Is there any story that comes to your mind about a supplier that got their business growing because of a fair?
Well, I can just tell you that we had brought a number of companies together to meet with the Pan Am, and all of a sudden it came out they were looking for signage, let's say. And it wasn't a Hispanic company, but was one of our minority companies, and they put in a bid for it. The next thing you know, they had a $250,000 bid that I think went to like almost $750,000 for a bid for signage for the Pan Am. And they're like, all of a sudden, they were being featured on all these articles. They were being pulled on stage. Their company started to grow tremendously from the exposure they got with what turned out to be a smaller contract that led into a bigger contract that led into exposure for other companies. And that's the way it works.
Wow, that's amazing. And actually, I think people usually, and especially our community, sometimes because of what I told you, sometimes we put our own limits, and sometimes it's good to know that there is a group that provides support for the minorities. So if you're interested, once again, what's the website?
www.camsc.ca.
Okay, once again, we're talking right now with Cassandra Dorrington, the president of the Canadian Aboriginal and Minority Supplier Council. I just want to close this interview to see, how do you see CAMSC in the future now that you're seeing a lot of community growing? We know that this is a multicultural city. Your role, your information, your guideline is very important for this city and for this society. How do you see the council growing?
Well, CAMSC is national, so we have some great exposure in the Toronto region, but we also have exposure across Canada. So I've been out to the Hispanic community in Vancouver as well, because we want to say, how do we connect the dots? How do we get as many businesses involved? Because if you're corporate Canada, let's say I'm RBC or I'm TELUS, I do business all across Canada. So I want to know where I can find my pockets of good businesses that I can reach out to. So for us, CAMSC, it's important that we get the message out. We're there. We're a vehicle that provides you access into the business community, because if you don't know where to turn to CAMSC. CAMSC will help you get access into whatever corporation you need, and that begins the relationship, the development of what you need to do to grow your business.
That's good. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you very much for having me, and have a great day.
Thank you.